Hello, Frank. Can you hear me? Shalom.
Hey, Rabbi Shalom. How are you?
I'm fine, Baruch Hashem. I hope the connection will work. I'm using my phone as a mobile hotspot. Where I
Excellent.
am located, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no internet signal, or there's no Wi-Fi. That's it.
Hopefully it'll hold up. Those work pretty good sometimes. My boys bounce off of when we travel, my boys will often have like a tablet of some sorts to watch a movie or something like that, play a game, and they'll bounce off of my phone. It usually works pretty good.
Okay. How are things?
Doing well, thank God. Doing well. Been a bit cold. A little bit of a cold snap through here. Caught everybody off guard. We went from like 70 a few days ago to I think down to like 18 last night. It's crazy weather.
Wow,
Big
what a
swings,
drop.
big
Yeah.
swings in the temperature for some reason this year. Very strange. So,
Are you located in a countrified area where there's lots of open space, farmland?
no, I'm just outside of city limits. So I'm in a urban area. Uh, uh, about I would say just about like what you have in Israel. Just it's a neighborhood with uh, suburban neighborhood, typical American suburban neighborhood, I guess. I am about a halfway up a small hill, so we get some winds, but not as near as bad as they get on top, of course. And we are facing south, so we do
Okay.
get most of the sun through the day, and that's good. And so, you say you're
All right, should
traveling
we get
home tomorrow?
started?
So you're headed home tomorrow?
Yes, we're flying tomorrow. We'll be in flight. Yeah,
That's
we
really
get home
choppy.
Israel time at midnight, so we're getting on a plane UK time at around 6 p.m., which makes it about 11 o'clock in the morning your time. So I would just be missing our usual time.
The signals kind of
Sorry, you asked something?
your signal's a bit choppy. Is there any way to put your phone, say, in a window or something of that nature?
Let me try. Hold on. Let's see if that helps. All right, put it. Should we
Well,
try
so
to
far you
start?
came
Let's
in
see what
really
happens.
well. Right. Yeah, yeah. So welcome back. I think we should be live.
Okay.
Everything's good to go. So
Okay, so Baruchim Abaim, welcome, shalom to everyone. I can't say shalom from Israel because at this moment I'm not in Israel. Myself, we traveled to our former community, Jewish community in London to participate in the celebration of a wedding of someone who we're very close to. And the two of us, after the wedding, we decided we're going to go out into the countryside. The UK, United Kingdom, has beautiful fields, and once you get outside of London, and so we've been staying here for a few days, and it's been very pleasant. And we just take walks and do some shopping for the grandchildren. And God willing, we should be on a plane back to the Holy Land tomorrow evening. So I hope you all are keeping well and warm. It is what's called New Year's Eve. Um, we took a long walk today, and of course, anybody who it's a time to party. I don't know if it's a time to get together with family and be friendly, not get drunk, and not get too rowdy. Well, then of course that's a good thing, bringing people together. Especially, of course, if there's no religious meaning to it or significance, because that would be a mistake and would be false. So I could wish you all a happy new year, but I'd like to wish you just health, prosperity, um, and uh, and developing your souls and your development, your lives together with your souls, and keep on growing. We should all keep on growing our spirits. We can't stop our bodies from growing or from growing older, but we are supposed to also be interested and striving to grow and develop our spiritual nature. So Frank is in a moment going to remind us where we are in the book, The Covenant of Peace, the Brit Shalom, which is a book authored by Rabbi Oury Cherki, our mentor here at the Noahide World Center. And it develops, it extrapolates, expands on the 7 Noahide principles or commandments, as you might know them. And I'm sure you all are familiar with the 7, but for anyone who wants to take it more seriously or up a few notches, that's what this book is meant for, how to implement, how to apply these principles into your lives. So if you're looking for a simple Noahide life, this isn't for you. If you're looking to understand more and make your life more meaningful, then I think you've arrived at the right place. So Frank, where are we? Remind me.
We are in chapter 9, item number 9. If you have the book, that's on page 93. You have this.
Okay, let me share it. So this chapter deals with the 7th, the final of the Noahide principles or commandments, which is we should support and promote justice, systems of justice wherever we live. It could be communal, it could be civic, but of course, we live in democracies and we're part of a larger system. But we should expect justice for everyone, and justice, just declaring we want justice, we know is not enough. We have to find ways to really implement it. If it takes too long, things are dragged on, or they're too costly because you need to get lawyers, well, then there's something wrong with the system because they cost too much. But at least in principle, we should definitely be looking to promote justice, and that's each and every individual. We should try to make sure that people are getting justice and that we are just people. So let me try to share it on screen for you all. All right, I think we're there. All right, to the bottom of the screen, you can see it is obligatory upon the judges to rule where the first 6 Noahide laws are concerned and to punish those who violate these laws. So this is something not practical today. When things are accepted or universally accepted, then of course this should be the foundation. The 6 other Noahide principles should be the foundation. Obviously, legal systems today are much more complicated, and the amount of literature there are, and the variations of cases, and so on. But at least this should be the bedrock. Those should be the bedrock. Not to hurt animals. Prohibition of incest. No idol worship, no murder, no stealing, and so on. And of course, we've discussed the positive side of these things, the protection of individual rights and properties, and the protection of life as a God-given gift, and the rights of animals. All these should be protected by law, and I think in general, they are. Obviously, questions of abortion, if they're at all if they're all permissible, or what stages or in what cases, those things, of course, should be discussed and have been discussed. All right, let's move on now to number 10. Let's see if I can shift the page without going too far down. So 10, this is something very obvious, and Rabbi Cherki, our mentor, always points out, the 7 Noahide principles or laws are rational laws. Any moral human being should accept them, even if the Torah did not command us, and that's all of us, to adhere to them and observe them. Number 10, it is forbidden for a judge to accept a bribe or to sway a judicial decision with his own prejudices. Now, if the law is clear, then basically he should make sure the judge, male or female, whoever it is, should check to make sure they're not being swayed to either side or to render a judgment because of what they're going to gain from their decision, or that they've been possibly paid or persuaded to weigh their decision, their ruling in one direction or the other. I think this is obvious to everybody in modern times. In old times, of course, if it was somebody you knew, somebody wealthy or of privilege, somebody from your tribe or etc., then it wasn't so clear. You should rule in their favor, and that's what was expected. Of course, the Torah has always said, no, the judges have to rule justly. This is what God wants, and God is watching the whole time. So again, it is forbidden for a judge to accept a bribe or to sway a judicial decision with his own prejudices. And what is accepting a bribe? Usually we think of this simple or straightforward case of, a brown envelope being slipped secretly into the judge's pocket or desk drawer or whatever. There are many more, or there are other ways of taking a bribe, whether it was meant as a bribe or not. And of course, anything that sways a judge. And a judge is not only, it's not only for somebody in a court of law. It's anytime you have been allotted or awarded honor and responsibility to mete out fairness, then you should be very careful that you should make sure that you are at this moment available emotionally and intellectually to render a decision without any personal interest there. So justice, a bribe, these are things that can become complicated, but on principle, we should all be we should all accept these things. It is very clear. If I'm a judge, if I've been appointed a judge, or I'm acting as a judge, and I'm using the term very loosely, then you have an obligation as a Noahide, as a God-fearing, someone who believes in the one God who is watching the whole time, to make sure that when you have accepted this responsibility, then you are going to render as far as you can tell, and as far as you're capable to render a fair decision that is not based on any personal motives. And if you're not sure you can do that, well, then relinquish the responsibility. Resign from the court, so to speak, and hand it over to somebody else. You don't have to say why, but you definitely can say, "I'm sorry, I can't do this, and I'd like someone else to make the decision for this case." 11. It is forbidden to carry out a punishment before the accused stands trial. We're not allowed to take the law into our own hands. That is also an obvious thing. We all understand that. If not, we're going to have anarchy, and we're going to have people who are hot-headed or lynch mobs, etc. So the accused has to stand trial. This is obvious to everyone, I think, in principle, but sometimes things can get carried away. When we realize how the judicial systems, the court systems are bogged down, and you feel you've been injured, or somebody you know well, and the other person is brazenly denying their guilt, and sometimes you feel, we should punish this person with what we have. Obviously, we should try to restrain ourselves and restrain our neighbors or our societies from this. We should force them to go get punishment from the elected authorities, the legal authorities. But this also is something, not only in a court of law when a law has been broken, when somebody has been accused of something, and they're not even around to hear the accusation, and then we're thinking as a committee or as, I don't know, some officer of some institution that we're going to punish that person. Well, that would be unfair until we've really let the accused defend themselves. Just because somebody says something, even if they are reliable, the person telling you the information, transmitting the information or the accusation against the other person, and it might even be that the other person that's being accused has a bad reputation. But really, when you think of it, it's not fair for us to pass judgment, whether as a committee, disciplinary committee, or whatever it might be, or even as parents, until we've really we've given the accused an opportunity to defend themselves. Now, again, what happens if this person's a bully that we're afraid of, or some kind of mafia character? Yes, it does become complicated, but I think most of us won't we're not presented with cases like that. So we have to be fair and that it goes for everyone. I can tell you of a case years ago, and I was the rabbi of the community in Colombia, and I was also considered the titular head or principal headmaster of the community school, a Jewish school, that anybody could apply for. And we did have 25% non-Jews studying in the school. But there was a child who had been accused, a teenager who had been accused of using drugs. And I'm talking about in the late 1980s, early 1990s. He was the adopted son of a good family in the community, and he was always a bit of a troublemaker, or at least somebody that needed discipline, that wasn't adhering to the rules. And at the committee meeting, where it arose the matter of his drug use, at least suspected drug use. I was strongly in favor of expelling him from the school, more out of fear, not a question of punishment. It was more out of fear of he might drag others down with him. And as the years went by, somebody overruled, and we accepted the person who overruled. And I don't even remember, I'm not even sure how it went, whether we said we have to, I'm pretty sure we did say, well, we should investigate it a bit more before we render a decision. I think it was a matter of, if we do find out, we might, actually confront him, this young man, and ask him. And then it would be possibly expulsion. But again,
Oh, Rabbi, you froze up. I don't know if you can hear. He's working from a remote location today, and his internet service is spotty at best. So hopefully he comes back here shortly. Uh, it dropped him completely, so he may just try to chime back in, reestablish connection. So we'll give him just a moment to do that. Hope everyone's having a good day. Some people are off today, don't have to work, but a lot of people are working and off tomorrow. So I guess we'll see. Hopefully you have a good day. I don't know if you celebrate the day or not. I personally never did. I always had to work. So I just didn't even plan it. It's just another day, January 1st. Just turn the calendar over. No big deal. So for some people, they shoot fireworks, they have dinner, visit family. So it's all good. Hopefully, enjoy your time. Well, I just got it to, I just got it finally to post to Facebook, and Rabbi has fell out. So had a lot of pretty interesting conversations lately with, especially Christians, um, about the validity of the Noahide laws. And it's interesting how few people really understand the point of the Bible. They, I'm sure they're well-meaning and trying to do the best they can. Uh, but many of them, they just see the Old Testament as an old thing, uh, doesn't apply anymore because they've been taught to only focus on Christianity. And um, that's a problem. That's a big problem because you can't have a house if you don't have a foundation. And the Jewish scriptures is that's the foundation. And the entire point why we are given the story to begin with, so that we can see how God established a priesthood at Mount Sinai. And then you learn how the human factor, how they grew up as a tender plant, he says, how they fall, how he nurtures them back. They fall again, he nurtures them back. And ultimately in the future, how the world and the Jewish people and the world will come to realize that they were right all along and finally get it straightened out. So that's the point of the whole story. But where do we fall in there? So they made the covenant at Mount Sinai to be the priests of the world. And if they're the priests, then we're the parishioners. We're the flock. So the Noahide laws come from the rabbis establishing the bare minimum that the rest of the world needs to do to stay in good graces with the Creator. And they're really simple. To worship only the one true God, to not to blaspheme God, not to murder, not to steal, no gross sexual immoralities. Uh, the sixth one of not eating the limb of a living animal. People struggle with that one a little bit, but if they just took a second and thought about the time when it was given, there was no refrigeration. So people knew how to take part of an animal without killing the animal and be able to consume it and maybe kill the animal the next day. Well, that animal suffered all night and days or whatever, um, and went through a lot of pain. And even today, there's some cultures today, believe it or not, that they like to take an animal right to the edge of death and then they consume it while it's still alive. It's crazy, I've seen it in some Asian cultures, especially with mice. They eat them right, or snakes, different different stuff that they eat right at the edge of death. And so we're not allowed to cause an animal any kind of undue suffering or harm. And then to create courts of justice to enforce the six, and that's what the rabbi was talking about, um, as far as creating the courts of justice. But well, it looks like he has really fell out. He's I've not heard anything back from him here, so we'll go ahead and call it for today. We can pick back up uh, next week where he left off, and hopefully he'll be home and he'll have better connection. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Sorry to cut it short, but hope you have a good holiday and good rest of your week. Take care.